You look like you feel some kind of way about what we just heard.
I think he told you all you needed to know.
Mm.
I mean, we can parse through it and we can guess and we can speculate. I hear, hey, listen, I'm going to ask that this is what I want, right? I think I've been loyal to you guys. I feel for you guys. I appreciate the fact that you bought in and you rallied with me. Even though I know you have some bad habits that creep up in crunch time, you've tried to give me the best you have.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to see you through this because you've helped me grow this culture.
Mm-hmm.
But make no mistake, I'll move on.
Yeah.
I'll do what I have to do to move this thing forward. That's coach. He said, I hope the coaches will join me. If you think that it is rainbows and butterflies when you're taking hard evaluations, now you can say, well, it's his fault it's gotten to this point. He told you that.
Yeah.
He told you.
I got to evaluate myself.
He told you that.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. I hope the players will join me. Hey man, it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going. This is where I want to go. You can come with me, or you cannot. It's up to you. Because he's not a headlock guy.
He's not going to force you.
You know people like that though.
Yeah.
I said he's got this weird ability to be able to walk away, but you still know he cares. I've said that from day one. It is this uncanny skill set he has. I mean, I want the best for you. No, why would you guys argue with me? You think I'm not for you?
Yeah.
You think I haven't been to NFL combines? You think I can't talk to every general manager in the country? I've built things before. Like just don't fight me on it.
Yeah.
Now that comes with he's not a finished and refined product either.
Right.
So he's got to grow and adapt along the way too, even though the core even though the core of the makeup is really strong. But he's telling you.
Well, that's where the trust comes in, right? Because
you can hear right, wrong, or indifferent. And we can be mortified like it doesn't happen, but I mean you can go to almost any program in the country. When you hear, hey, stop the infighting, the blaming, the finger pointing, because it's a natural byproduct when of losing.
Yeah.
It's what losers do.
Yeah.
So that's the BCD, the blaming, complaining, deflecting is just a natural byproduct. That's why I said yesterday morning, start with accountability. Head coach, you want to hear it again? You could probably know it now.
Head coach, coach coordinators.
Yep.
Coordinators, coach position coaches, position coaches, coach players.
And anything outside of that is
gravy. Here.
He's telling you.
There's a couple things there that I think are really interesting. First, I think two things can be true at once, right? It could be on him that they're in this position. I also think he may have understood that this day was coming.
Yeah.
Where, hey, I believe these guys can help me build the culture. I don't know if these guys are going to be the ones that help me win.
I almost get the sense. It's interesting. Because I almost got the sense yesterday, and I was talking to my former teammate. He's chomping at the bit, I think, because how he's been held accountable has been very public, right? And it's worked in some instances with him. But what was he kind of very protective of? Well, these guys could be a meme in 2 minutes. They could be. So you got the sense it impacted him one way. So he wanted to make sure that the people that he cared about don't feel like that.
He wanted to protect them from the negative implications
because he knows how it feels. Because he knows how it feels.
But sometimes by doing that, you also
enable.
Well, and you prevent them from experiencing the positive implications of it, right?
I'm going to call it enabling for short.
Sure.
Because It's such a fine line. It sounds like that yesterday sounded like somebody that said, "Hey, listen, man, I'm going to go out and I'm going to eat this because I'm the head coach and that's what I do."
That's my job.
In the same vein, I don't want to bus roll you guys, but and he had to manage the duality of that message. He did. Because it kept creeping out.
Yeah, you kind of see both sides
Yeah,
of it, right?
it just.
Well, that's why I asked.
So there's lots of there has to be lots of things going on, right? Like you don't bring in parent. I'm happy to talk to parents if that's not an issue. You don't bring up like the finger pointing if you don't foresee that
If that's
being
not
an
an
issue.
issue, yeah.
You don't bring up coaches. Hey, I hope you come along. If that's not, he got it. He covered the gamut. But at the end, hey, make no mistake, we're going to get there. And I'm telling
So
you
that's
guys,
what I liked.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Because it would be really easy in that moment to not double down on, hey, we're going to get this thing going.
Me too. I'm 100% with you.
Because it's really easy, even if he believes that internally, it's really easy to not put that out there because you're like, you could take some heat for it again, right? It's like, I lost 3 in a row. People are freaking out whether they're going to make a bowl game again or not. Like that, it's really easy just to be like, I don't have to say that part. I can say all these other things that could be true, and I don't have to say that part, which is part of the reason you bring up accountability, and I think it's important. It's one of the, I've said this a million times, it's one of the only things I care about. Accountability and self-awareness are 2 of the only things I care about because I think they go hand in hand, right? It's really hard to be held accountable or to hold others accountable unless you're self-aware. But one of the things that I really like about Rhule is he puts things out there that allow others to hold him accountable.
Yeah.
Like he says things out loud.
He seemingly boxes himself in.
Yes, he talks himself into a corner. So it's like if I'm not who I think I am, or if I'm not who I say I am,
and I don't know, like
you're going to be able to
sometimes,
come after me.
like he is historically has been a guy that runs into the burning
runs
building,
into the fire,
right? So I think that's what he thinks has forged him the most. So it's what he wants to do. It's what he wants other people to go through. That's why he likes to thrive in chaos.
But he's also find guys that are willing to do it too.
And he's a protector by nature.
Yeah.
So because he's a protector by nature, he comes in conflict. So that's why you can gravitate towards a guy like Jamar. He likes those tough stories. Like guys, that's why he and Jamari are so close, right? But I look at this. Tell me what you think about this, because this is interesting.
Real quick before you get to it.
Go ahead, babe.
So I think there's a really distinct difference here. And this is why I bring up player mentality so much with this particular coaching staff, because I agree with you. He wants to protect guys. He also wants them to run into the burning building.
Yep.
But he's not going to force them.
He's going to train you to be able to go into the building first.
He's going to train you to want to run into the building. Yeah. He's not going to say, hey, you have to run into the building. Right?
I agree.
So that's the key difference there is he's not going to like put you on his back and drag you into the burning building.
That's the parsing through, hey, man.
Yeah.
This may not be for you.
Right. Like he's going to protect you, but in protecting you, at some point, you're going to have to want to run into the building. And that's where I think there's a disconnect between these current players who I think love and respect and want to be.
Yeah, they've been treated better
with him.
Cultural development than anything that they've been accustomed to.
And I think that he wants to continue to protect them, but I think he also is starting to realize these guys aren't going to choose to run into the building on their own.
Why do you think he uses Ja'Cory Barney and like Jalen Lloyd as examples?
And Shavers. Brought up Shavers yesterday too. Like those are guys that are running into the building.
Okay. So what do you think about this? Coach Rhule, he's got the wrong guys wearing single digits to do what he wants to do. You're holding up wildly inconsistent players as the representation of the team and then complaining that the team is inconsistent. Watch Minnesota play. All the guys that pop for them, who make big plays in the moment, have a C on their chest.
Yeah, I've heard the single digit thing brought up a lot. I have. And I don't totally know what to do with it.
Okay, let me just ask you this, generally speaking. Of inconsistencies, guys that have been inconsistent, that you're thinking about their mental makeup, are they wearing single digits?
Yes. Yeah, most of them.
That's what made me think of it. Because I know the names that you said to me yesterday.
Yeah, I said them on air. I said them to everybody. Right? I'll say them again. Gifford, Singleton, Ty, Nash, those Banks,
Tommy Hill.
That's 6 of them right off the top of my head there. Like those are guys that.
And I don't think when he told me, when he said this, I don't think he knew.
Yeah.
It's certainly not your sentiments, nor would I think that would sway him. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Because he didn't send me this until.
And you know what's funny when I
12:45 yesterday.
Yeah. You know what's funny is when I said those names yesterday, I didn't even think about them as single-digit guys. I was just like, who are the guys that I don't think have performed to the level that I think they're capable of and that Nebraska needs them to?
And they're all old. And now this isn't an old versus
guys.
young, but you can.
But if you're talking about player makeup, I do think it matters what you've been through.
If you're looking for consistency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Because it's not blame. It's why are we wildly inconsistent? That's what I need to figure out. Right? He said that.
Yeah.
So then when I read this message, I'm like, shoot. I sat on this pulling into the parking lot of Westside yesterday. I'm like, there's probably something to this.
Yeah.
But the players vote. So
I think that's part of the problem, right? Is the players, because there's a lot of older guys on this team. So there's a big divide, and I'm not saying there's division in the locker room, but I'm saying there's a gap. You've got a ton of older guys, and you got a ton of really young guys, and sort of this gap in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm. You can look at the roster, yeah.
Just look at the roster. Yeah, I'm not telling anything that the roster doesn't tell you, right? You have a ton of older guys, 5th and 6th year guys, a ton of 1st and 2nd year guys, right? The 1st and 2nd year guys, I don't have a ton of worries about in terms of who they are, who they're going to be, because these are guys that were recruited by Rhule. I think he knows what he's doing, right? These older guys, and here's the other thing you have to remember about a player's vote. So the older guys, they're going to vote for older guys, right? You're not going to vote most likely for true freshmen or sophomores or redshirt freshmen to be single-digit guys or captains or whatever. That's not a common thing. It's probably not going to happen, okay? Plus, the other older guys don't know that what the Ties and Nash and Isaacs and Deshaun's and Tommy's and Jamal Banks, they don't know that what they're doing isn't going to lead to winning football because they haven't had winning football. They don't know yet.
Yeah.
And whereas the young guys, whether they're coming from their high school programs or they've coming from other places, they sit there and go, maybe that's not it, but maybe they defer to the older guys because if you're a true freshman, maybe you're not voting for another true freshman to have a single-digit number, right? You're like, oh, man. And again, if you're a true freshman, you haven't played with those guys yet either. So you don't know that what they're doing isn't going to lead to winning football either. You're sitting there and go, oh, man, Isaac works his ass off. Deshaun goes super hard every day in practice.
The one single-digit offensive guy?
Yeah, Jamal goes.
Insert what you just said, right?
Super hard in practice. He goes hard in the weight room. He's good to all the guys. You're like, oh, that feels like a captain, right? You don't look because you don't know yet. You haven't. If you're a true freshman or even redshirt freshman, you're sitting there and you go, oh, I don't know that's not like that's only part of it, right? Those are all good qualities to have, but you need some guys on there that, for lack of a better term, are kind of killers. You need some guys on there that have your Mamba mentality that are like, yeah, I may not be the nicest guy, but we will get where we're going. Mm-hmm. You need some guys on there that willingly run into burning buildings. And here's the funny thing. This is why I think there's inconsistency and it's not just bad, right? It's not all burning buildings are built equally, right? Like some fires are bigger than others. I think there's some guys, some of these older guys, they'll run into the little fires. They've gotten to that point. Coach Rhule's got them to the point where like, yeah, we'll run into a little fire. Just that one room's in fire, and there's I got to go get the dog from this other room. I'm okay because that's over there, and I'm over there, and I can go get it. But it still feels a little warm, so I feel like I'm doing something. Like, who's running in when the whole house is engulfed, right? Because right now, that's the young guys. Right now, it's your Shavers and your Barneys and those guys that are like, hey, like, I don't care if that building's on fire. I got to go get my dog. I don't care if I get burned on the way in and on the way out. I'm going to get the thing I care about.
The funny thing about that analogy, which I agree with, and it's kind of like I was talking to this former player yesterday, and he's like, "Man, the hard part is," and he said this, and I don't think he's listening to the show per se, but I'm like,
Mhm.
because I said this last week, is the hard part is you have some goals that are still intact.
Yeah.
The fine line is knowing what to scrap and when to go young, because you don't want to go all the way young.
Mhm.
But then he kind of gassed me up yesterday. He's like, in some of these spots, like, let guys that'll just rally. And he sent me where he talked through these cut ups to go look at.
Mhm.
Where you talking about effort? I know DJ Moore is famous this morning for his effort, but whether it's guys turning down tackles
Mhm.
or whatever,
Just whatever it is. Yeah.
it's like,
But effort stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
he said I would start there.
Yeah. And here's the other thing about it, which I think is really interesting too, is it's probably not a conscious decision that older guys are making or that guys that aren't doing what needs to be done are making. It's probably a subconscious or an unconscious thing where they don't really even know that it's happening. But it's also, I think, an issue of you may not have to go, like you said, you may not have to scrap the whole thing.
Yeah.
If you get enough of those other personality types in there, there's what, I love my Malcolm Gladwell. Where's the tipping point, right? Where's the tipping point of, I got a bunch of dogs in this room now. I've got a bunch of guys that are going to fly around and be the guy I need them to be. And now all of a sudden the older guys are like, we can get behind that, right? Instead of the other way around.
I do know that there are a couple young guys, a handful, that the older guys really like.
Yeah.
Like, really like.
And so if those are the same guys that you can put out there as the example of what you need, then maybe the older guys can rally around that and bring the rest of the team around to that as well, as opposed to it being the other way around where the older guys rally the younger guys.
One of my buddies just asked, was it a red flag? I think this is rhetorical knowing him because he knows a lot. Was there a red flag that only one offensive player had a single digit?
Sure, we talked about this at the time.
We said it at the time.
We're like, it sort of made sense. We kind of tried to talk our way out of it, right? It's like, the defense is more experienced. We know what's going on there. But yeah, it was a red flag. I mean, last year you had an offensive lineman that honorarily got one. You didn't have that this year.
And you didn't even love the way that he played.
No. You liked his mentality, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we're at with this program.
I wish he wouldn't have sent me that yesterday. I can't unread that now.
Yeah. Because, again, when I was
And he used the term consistency, which is something that was the theme.
Mhm.
It is clear. It's what's driving the fan base crazy.
What's driving Coach Rhule crazy.
And it's what's driving Coach Rhule crazy.
And I bet if I'm being honest with you, I bet it's what's driving the young guys that aren't playing right now crazy too. Because they're like, I can go out there and be inconsistent.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm a young guy, if I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I know I'm faster than this guy.
If I'm Quinn, if I'm like,
it's like I can go out there and be inconsistent.
If I'm Quinn or Keelan, or
I can go out there and whiff on a block on the perimeter.
No, it's just what happens.
Yeah, like
it's not like that's. I mean, that's the nature. If you want to create a competitive
it's the nature of being competitive. There's always going to be somebody behind you.
At some point, I think you reward it and see what happens.
Yeah, you reward the competitiveness and quit relying on the experience because the experience hasn't got you where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
Like just be like,
I can think of some real. It's crazy.
Like just putting the cards on the table, right? The experienced guys haven't got you where you wanted to go, right? Even if let's give a pass on like Indiana looked how it looked, Ohio State they responded. UCLA is a game you have to win. If you're a good football team, you have to figure out a way to win that game.
Did you read JK's?
No, not yet. On YouTube?
Go to the bottom. He's tough. He is not messing around.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Nah,
he struggled. He struggled.
Yeah.
Right?
I think Josh is over it.
I get it. I get it. Because the inconsistency almost makes you more mad than ineptitude.
Yeah, and what you worry about is that it trickles down to the rest of the guys in your position group.
So that's why I think
that's what you have to worry. That's what you have to. Now that's on Coach Rhule though.
It is.
You listen. You gotta get your position.
That's why I feel like you have to kind of pull the ripcord now, so that you don't run the danger of this mentality seeping into the guys that don't have it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you can't afford, and I'm going to call it this, and it's going to sound worse. You don't want the loser mentality to get infectious.
Yeah.
Let's get to our guy, Asian Wyatt here, wants to talk about some Gifford comments. Wyatt, what's going on, bud?
What?
What's happening, Shane?
Shane's not talking to his mic again, like we can hear him.
Let's pot up Asian Wyatt here, Shane. Wyatt, what's going on, bud?
Hey, just real quick. So I was thinking of what you guys are talking about, and one thing it just out of my head was after the Indiana loss in the post-game press conference, I think it was post-game, where Gifford was talking, and he says that, this wasn't my first, I guess paraphrasing, my first butt whooping.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something about that, the way he said it just kind of bothered me a little bit. I was trying
a lot of people were mad about that.
Mm.
And then I got the whole year. That's your boy, and this, that, and yeah. You're not alone, Wyatt. Keep going. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's just that because when you say something like it's usually followed up with it wasn't my first butt whooping, won't be my last one. It just that's what you kind of that's what what I would hear in my ears, even though he didn't say it. But if he's saying that to him, when he's a captain, what is he saying to the younger guys about that?
Did you like any of the follow-up context?
I can't recall it all, to be honest.
Okay. All right. I'm just that one I'm surprised that's the first time we heard that this week, to be honest. I appreciate the call, Wyatt.
Yeah.
Because I got that a lot.
About Gifford's post-game comments after Indiana? Yeah, at the time I kind of thought it was funny, like, because he kind of says it in a way that's amusing.
But then I knew when it was serious, because then I get I'm tired of his tough. I'm like, you're not going to get me.
Yeah. And
it's at that point, it's counterproductive.
This is not, like, as far as I know, these are all good guys. They're good guys, and they're trying, and
nobody, people don't care.
But, like, that doesn't mean that there's still not a problem.
Yeah, you want to win.
You can be as good of a guy as you want and maybe not win enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to Alexis Boulos from Union Omaha. Then we will get right back into Pete. Hold on, we'll get to you first, and then we'll get to Alexis Boulos of Union Omaha.
Pete, stay right there.
Right after this here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.